You know, we often talk about time travel in science fiction as this flashy technological event. You step into a machine, dial spin, electricity arcs everywhere, maybe you hit 88 miles per hour, and boom, you're in the future. It's instantaneous, it's clean.
It's very clean. It's the H.G. Wells version of events, or the Hollywood version, really. It treats time as a distance you can just, jump across.
Exactly. But Arthur C. Clarke, being the titan of hard science fiction that he was, he had a different view, a much colder view.
Literally colder.
Yes, literally. In the final chapter of his massive space odyssey saga, 3001, the Final Odyssey, he posits that the only real-time machine we have access to isn't based on flux capacitors. It's based on biology and physics. And the fuel isn't plutonium, it's cold. Absolute, crushing vacuum of space cold.
Which brings us to perhaps the most terrifying nap in literary history.
That is certainly one way to put it. Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It's good to be here.
Today, we are dissecting the finale of the Monolith saga. We are looking at the Resurrection of Frank Poole, and we're going to explore a future that is equal parts utopian dream and cosmic nightmare.
I think that's the perfect way to frame it. It's a fascinating book because it flips the script of the original 2001. Instead of humanity going out into the unknown has come home.
Ah, yeah.
We're seeing our own solar system 1,000 years from now through the eyes of a man who is, by all definitions, a ghost. A ghost from a barbaric age.
Our age. So let's set the scene for this.
Yeah.
We aren't starting on Earth. We aren't even starting on a spaceship in the traditional sense. We are way, way out in the dark.
Right. We are in the Kuiper Belt. This is the messy, icy junkyard past the orbit of Neptune. It's where the solar system, keeps its leftovers. It's cosmic dust bin.
And we are riding along with a character named Captain Dimitri Chandler.
His friends call him Dim.
Which is a bit unfortunate, but yes.
It is. So Dim. He's the captain of a vessel called the Goliath. And despite that grand name, the Goliath is essentially a tugboat. A big, ugly, working-class industrial ship designed to push millions of tons of ice around.
And Dim himself has this great title, Comet Cowboy, which sounds dashing, like he should have a laser pistol on his hip.
It does sound romantic, doesn't it?
But in the context of this society, this isn't exactly a glamorous job, is it?
Not at all. It's actually a bit of a sore spot for him. See, in this future, the solar system has a complex economy based on terraforming. They need water, they need gases, in the inner planets, Mars, Venus, to make them habitable.
So they need a water source.
And the best place to get that used to be Saturn.
The rings.
Exactly. The rings are almost pure water ice, easy to access, relatively close to the delivery zone. Dim used to be a ring rustler.
Now that's a job title.
That was the prestige gig. But then politics happened, even in the year 3001.
Politics never changes.
Never. There was a massive public outcry, the hands-off Saturn movement. People decided that the rings were a heritage site, a thing of beauty that shouldn't be strip mined for water. So the government banned mining the rings.
Which pushed guys like Dim out to the Kuiper Belt.
Right. He's been exiled to the suburbs of the solar system to hunt for dirty comets in the dark. It's lonely, it's boring, it's blue-collar work. He's not happy about it.
So he's out there, bored out of his mind, probably drinking bad coffee or whatever the 3001 equivalent is. And his sensors pick up a radar blip. Now, usually out there, a blip is just a rock.
Or space junk. You have to remember, by the year 3001, humanity has been tossing spent rocket stages, dead satellites, and random debris into the void for millennium.
1,000 years of trash.
1,000 years of trash. Dim assumes it's just another piece of junk from the primitive era. Their name for our time.
But he checks it anyway. Why bother?
Boredom, mostly. He's got nothing better to do. And the spectral analysis comes back weird. The return signal isn't just metal. It shows specific alloys and, more disturbingly, organic compounds. Hydrates.
Meaning water.
Meaning frozen water. It doesn't look like a rock, and it doesn't look like a simple fuel tank. There's something more complex there.
So the Goliath alters course. They match velocity. And this visual, it creates such a pit in my stomach. They turn on the searchlights, and there, floating in the absolute nothingness, is a box.
A pod.
An EVA pod. Specifically, one of the pods from the Discovery one.
And next to the pod, a figure in a yellow spacesuit.
It's Frank Poole.
The very same. The man who was murdered, or attempted murdered, by HAL 9000 1,000 years prior.
After HAL severed his oxygen line and sent him spinning off into space.
Now, we have to pause on the science here, because this is Arthur C. Clarke. He doesn't just say it's magic. He actually explains how Frank is still intact, because usually when we see people ejected into space in movies, it's explosive.
Right, the whole Total Recall thing, eyes popping, lungs rupturing.
Yeah. That's the Hollywood dramatization. Clarke relies on the thermodynamics of the situation. Frank was ejected without a helmet. Yes, his suit was compromised, but he wasn't holding his breath, so his lungs didn't burst. And he was so far from the sun, out by Jupiter, that the ambient temperature was near absolute zero.
So it wasn't a slow freeze.
No, it was a flash freeze. The instant the air left his immediate vicinity, the cold took over. It was so extreme, it halted his cellular activity almost instantaneously.
Before brain death could occur.
Exactly. It stopped his metabolism before his brain could suffer from hypoxia, a lack of oxygen. He didn't die, he was preserved. He is a popsicle, suspended in a state that nature provided.
A perfect specimen from a lost era.
An anthropological jackpot.
So, Dim and his crew haul this frozen relic aboard.
Yeah.
And suddenly, the Goliath isn't just a tugboat anymore, it's an ambulance. They rush him back toward Earth. And this leads us to the awakening.
This scene is pure Rip Van Winkle, but with much, much higher stakes.
Oh, yeah.
Frank wakes up in a medical facility. He's groggy. His last memory is the pod bay doors and HAL acting strange. He looks at the doctors standing over him, these strange, sleek-looking people.
And he thinks he's been rescued by Dave Bowman.
It's heartbreaking. He asks, "How's Dave? Did he get me back in?"
Yeah.
He thinks maybe he's been out for a few days, maybe a week at most. He thinks he's in a hospital in Houston.
And the doctor, Dr. Anderson, has the unenviable job of just completely shattering this man's reality.
I mean, how do you even start that conversation? He has to tell him, "Frank, you're not in Houston, and Dave isn't here.
And then the big one.
You have been drifting for 1,000 years.
How does the human mind even process that? I mean, if you told me I'd been asleep for 10 years, I'd panic. My dog would be gone, my house sold. But 1,000, that's geologic time.
Everything is gone.
Everyone you ever loved, your parents, your friends, your enemies, they aren't just dead, they're dust. Their great-great-grandchildren are dead.
It's total dislocation. Frank is effectively an alien in his own solar system. He has nothing. And the first thing he notices isn't the technology, strangely enough, it's the people.
The hair.
The hair, or the complete lack thereof. In the year 3001, the human species has decided that hair is, well, it's gross.
It's unhygienic.
Yeah, it's seen as a primitive vestige, a hygiene risk. Everyone is completely hairless.
Like completely hairless.
Head to toe. They use laser follicle removal as a standard rite of passage. If you see someone with hair in 3001, they are wearing a wig. Wigs are huge fashion statements, often outrageous colors or styles, but natural growing hair. That's for animals.
So Frank is lying there, unshaven, hairy chest, hairy legs, probably a beard, looking like a yeti compared to these sleek, bald future humans.
He must look like a monster to them. It really emphasizes how barbaric he seems.
He feels like a caveman. And to his credit, he tries to adapt. He actually opts to undergo the laser treatment himself.
Which must have been a weird decision, to permanently alter his body to fit in with these strangers.
But he wants to fit in. He doesn't want to be the hairy exhibit in the zoo for the rest of his life.
No, he doesn't. But there are some things you can't just laser away. Cultural values shift massively in a millennium, and there's this one subplot involving a woman named Aurora Macaulay that really drives this home.
Ah, the Dragon Lady.
We have to explain that nickname later, yes.
But let's talk about the relationship. Aurora is fascinated by Frank because she's part of the Society for Creative Anachronisms. She loves the primitive 21st century. She thinks it's romantic.
Right. She's the type of person who, today, would dress up in Victorian garb and churn her own butter. She loves the idea of Frank Poole, the rugged, primitive man.
But the reality hits a snag.
It hits a very big snag in the bedroom.
And this is a detail Clarke includes that feels humorous at first, but is actually quite profound regarding cultural drift.
It is. Frank and Aurora are getting intimate, and she discovers that Frank is circumcised.
Which was standard medical practice for a man of his demographic in the 20th century. Completely normal.
Completely normal for him. But to her, to a citizen of 3001, it's horrific. They view circumcision as brutal genital mutilation, an act of barbarism performed on a child.
So her reaction isn't just, oh, that's different.
No, she is genuinely repulsed and horrified that his parents did that to him. She breaks off the relationship immediately because she feels he is damaged goods, mutilated.
Wow. It's such a sharp left turn for the reader. but it makes you realize, imagine if we met an Aztec warrior today. We might think he's cool until he suggests sacrificing a neighbor to make the sunrise.
Exactly.
Values change. What is normal to Frank is barbarism to Aurora.
It isolates him completely. He realizes he can change his hair, he can wear the clothes, but he is fundamentally a product of a violent, primitive time. He's an anachronism.
He is an Antaeus in reverse.
That's the phrase Clarke uses, yes. Antaeus was the Greek giant who drew strength from touching the earth, right?
Right. Hercules had to lift him off the ground to defeat him.
Exactly. But Frank can't touch the earth. First, the gravity is too strong for him after 1,000 years of human adaptation to lower gravity in his time and space. He feels heavy and clumsy. And socially, the earth he knew is gone. He belongs to the vacuum now.
But he doesn't stay in the vacuum. He stays in Star City. And we need to paint a picture of this place because it is the backdrop for the first half of the book. This isn't the International Space Station.
No. Oh, no. Star City is the realization of the space elevator concept taken to its absolute extreme. Imagine a ring habitat, a continuous city encircling the entire globe at geostationary orbit.
That's 36,000 kilometers up.
Right. A massive spinning ring kilometers wide with its own gravity, parks, everything.
And it's connected to the ground.
By 4 towers, massive diamond composite towers that rise from the equator. They're named Africa, Asia, America, and Pacifica. These aren't just cables, they are artificial mountains. They are hundreds of kilometers wide at the base, tapering up to the sky. They contain elevators, cargo haulers, hotels, you name it.
And the travel mechanism isn't rockets. We're done with chemical rockets.
Rockets are considered noisy, dangerous, and polluting. Utterly primitive. They use inertial drives, or sharp drives. This is tech that allows you to move without feeling acceleration.
So you could step into an elevator in the Africa Tower, shoot upward at Mach 20, and not spill your drink.
Exactly. It manipulates the inertial mass of the object. It's frictionless travel. This is why Star City exists. Getting to space is now as cheap and easy as taking a train. Humanity isn't planet-bound anymore. We are a vertical civilization.
So Frank is living in this ring, looking down at the Earth he can never really return to. He's completely lost. But to navigate this world, he needs a guide.
Yes, he does. And he gets one in the form of Indra Wallace.
Indra is a historian, and her specialty is the century of torture, which is what they call the 20th century.
Ouch. Fair, but ouch. She becomes his translator. But not for language. Everyone speaks English, which is a streamlined, logical version of English, but for concepts. Because Frank can't just walk up to a computer and type. Keyboards are gone. Screens are mostly gone.
Which brings us to the brain cap.
The defining technology of the era. The absolute game changer.
It sounds a bit like Neuralink, but perfected. Like the finished product.
It's the ultimate evolution of the brain-computer interface. It's a skull cap, or for some, an implant, that uses millions of nanowires to interface directly with the cerebral cortex. A brain man, an engineer, literally drills microscopic holes in your skull to set it up.
That sounds invasive.
It is, but it's completely routine for them, and Frank gets one.
He has to. Being without one in 3001 is like being deaf and mute. People don't talk in full sentences half the time. They beam images, data packets, and emotions directly to each other.
So it's a form of telepathy.
A technological telepathy. Frank describes the feeling of walking into a room where everyone is silent, but the air is thick with conversation he can't hear. He's completely locked out.
So he gets the brain cap, and this unlocks the instant learn feature.
This is the dream, right? I want to know Kung Fu. Frank needs to catch up on 1,000 years of history. So he downloads a college-level history degree in a few hours. It pumps the information directly into his memory storage.
But it's not just for learning, it's for storage. And this is where the book gets really philosophical. If you can read the brain that accurately, you can copy it.
The soul drive. They have storage units, small tablet-sized blocks that can hold petabytes of data, enough to store a complete mapping of a human consciousness, your personality, your memories, everything.
So if I have a soul drive backup and I get hit by a bus...
They can grow you a new body, a clone, or build a mechanical one and upload the backup. You are effectively immortal.
But is it you? Or is it a copy of you that thinks it's you? The classic ship of Theseus problem.
Exactly. That is the eternal debate. In 3001, most people accept it as continuity of consciousness. But Frank is skeptical. And frankly, the listener should be too. It turns humanity into software. You can be backed up, deleted, copied.
It's a huge leap. Let's talk about the culture a bit more before we leave Star City. Religion. What does God look like in 3001?
God has become Daguerre's. It's a very deist perspective, the idea that there is a creator But he's a mathematician, a grand architect, not a father figure who answers prayers.
So the old religions are mostly gone.
Gone. Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they crumbled under the weight of history and science. There's a fascinating anecdote in the book about Pope Pius XX. He's remembered as a hero in 3001, not because he saved the church, but because he dissolved it.
He dissolved the Catholic Church.
Yes, he released all the secret archives of the Vatican, exposing all the inconsistencies, the contradictions, the corruptions, and basically said, the game is up. We had a good run.
That is a wild reimagining of the papacy.
That's a very Clarkean idea. And what about food? Frank is a meat and potatoes guy.
He's completely out of luck. In 3001, eating an animal is considered psychotic behavior. It's monstrous. They call meat corpse food.
Corpse food. Appetizing.
Yeah. They are horrified by the idea that you would kill a sentient creature to eat its muscle tissue. Everything is synthetic. It's chemically perfect, nutritious, and safe. And to Frank, it tastes like seasoned cardboard.
So he misses a real steak.
He spends a lot of the book just craving a greasy burger that doesn't exist anymore. It's one of those small human details that makes his isolation so real.
So Frank tries to settle in. He has his wig, his brain cap, his fake meat. He even takes a trip down to Earth in a hover chair. He sees the climate has changed. It's hotter. He meets a genetically engineered, docile elephant named Elizabeth.
And he realizes he can never live there again. The gravity crushes him. He's that Antaeus in reverse. Earth is no longer his home.
So he's bored. He's a man of action. And eventually the novelty of Star City wears off. He wants to go back to work.
He's a celebrity, a museum piece. But he feels useless. So when he hears that his old pal Dim Chandler is making a run to the Jovian system, Frank decides to hitch a ride.
He wants to return to the scene of the crime.
Back to Jupiter, or, as it's known now, Lucifer.
Right. We have to remember, in 2010, Odyssey 2, the monoliths ignited Jupiter. They turned it into a second, smaller sun to warm up the moons for the life on Europa.
So the solar system has two suns now.
Yes. Lucifer isn't as bright as the sun, but it's bright enough to banish the night on Earth. There is no true night anymore, just a constant twilight.
That must be strange.
Very. So Frank boards the Goliath, and the journey out is a tour of the new solar system.
They stop at Venus first, right?
They do, and this is a massive set piece. They are terraforming Venus, but they aren't doing it with plants or slow chemical changes. They are doing it with brute force.
They are dropping comets on it.
It's geoengineering on a planetary scale. The Goliath is hauling a massive ice comet. They've wrapped it in a reflective foil to keep it from melting too fast. They get it into position, and then they just drop it.
And Frank watches this from orbit. He does. And it's a spectacle of destruction and creation. The comet hits the atmosphere. The impact energy is colossal. It cools the planet by blocking the sun with dust, and it delivers trillions of gallons of water. It's violent, but it's the only way to turn Venus into a second Earth.
From there, the real destination is Lucifer. And when they arrive in the Lucifer system, it's completely unrecognizable.
It's a mini solar system. You have the white dwarf star, Lucifer, in the center, and the moons Io, Europa, Ganymede, Callisto are now planets in their own right, each with its own climate.
Let's look at the real estate. Io.
Io was always volcanic. Now, with the extra heat from Lucifer, it is literally described as hell warmed up. It's a churning nightmare of sulfur and lava. Uninhabitable. A complete write-off.
Okay, what about Ganymede?
That's the jewel. Ganymede is the main human settlement in the outer system. They've built a city called Anubis City. It's a boomtown. They are electrolyzing the ice on the surface to make oxygen. There are lakes, agriculture domes. It's the new frontier.
And then there's Europa.
The forbidden world. All these worlds are yours except Europa. Attempt no landings there. That was the command given by the monolith 1,000 years ago.
And surprisingly, humanity has listened.
Well, mostly because every time they sent a probe, it got swatted out of the sky. Something over there is enforcing the quarantine.
So Europa is now an ocean world. The ice is melted, or at least thinned, due to Lucifer's heat. It's a warm, tropical water world, but it is strictly off-limits. It is a nature preserve for whatever is evolving down there.
And this is where Frank is drawn. He checks into a hotel on Ganymede, the Hotel Ganymede.
I love a good pun.
It's great. And he stays in the Bowman Suite.
Bit morbid. Staying in a room named after the friend who watched you die.
I think it's intentional. Frank is on a mission, and on Ganymede, he meets a man named Dr. Ted Kahn.
The last Jesuit.
That's his nickname. Kahn is a philosopher and a scientist who is obsessed with the monolith. He calls it the Great Wall.
Because on Europa, the monolith isn't the standard slab we saw in the movies.
No. It's massive. It's lying on its side on the shore of a place they've named the Sea of Galilee. It's 20 kilometers long, a sprawling black fortress just sitting there.
And Khan has a theory about this wall. He thinks Dave Bowman is in there.
He believes that Bowman wasn't killed or absorbed into the ether, but that he was uploaded, that he is living inside the monolith's hard drive. And Khan thinks Frank is the key.
Why Frank?
He thinks Frank is the only person in the universe who can get Dave to pick up the phone, a familiar face or a familiar mind from his past.
Before Frank makes his move, we need to talk about the Tien. This is a flashback sequence in the book, but it's absolutely critical to understanding what's happening on Europa.
Yes, the tragedy of the Tien. This happened shortly after Jupiter became Lucifer. A Chinese ship, the Tian, made an emergency landing on Europa to refuel. They thought, hey, water is hydrogen and oxygen, rocket fuel.
They broke the attempt no landings rule.
Out of necessity, they land on the water, they are pumping fuel, and then Dr. Chang, one of the crew, sees something moving in the water.
And this description gives me the creeps. He describes it as a forest of seaweed that's walking.
It's like a tangled mass of kelp, but it's moving with purpose. It comes out of the water, it's huge, and it heads straight for the ship.
The crew is panicked. Is it an attack?
That's the immediate assumption. The creature climbs the ship, it's heavy, the weight of it tips the Tian over, destroying it. The crew is killed. Dr. Chang is the only survivor drifting in his suit, watching this happen, and he realizes the truth just before his air runs out.
It wasn't attacking.
Yo. The ship had bright floodlights on, the creature was phototropic, it was drawn to light like a moth to a flame.
So it was just curious.
It was just a dumb, curious animal trying to find the sun. The seaweed was actually a colony organism, and the little flowers on it were its eyes or maybe its larvae. It just accidentally destroyed the ship.
And after it destroys the ship, what does it do?
It strips the metal. Europa is a water world. There are no minerals, no ores. Metal is incredibly rare and precious. The creature and the other Europans strip the Quen bare because to them, metal is the most valuable substance in the universe.
This establishes that the Europes, as they call them, are evolving, they are curious, they use resources, they are primitive, but they are on their way up.
Which is exactly what the monolith wants. It's gardening, it's protecting the sprouts.
So, back to 3001. Frank hears this story. He looks at the Great Wall across the vacuum, and he decides he's done following rules.
Yes, he's an old astronaut. He's not going to sit in a hotel room. He wants to break quarantine.
He conspires with Dim Chandler. They come up with a heist plan. They're going to fake a malfunction on a shuttle called the Falcon.
Oops, sorry, Control. My thrusters are stuck. I'm drifting toward Europa.
Exactly. It gives Chandler plausible deniability. Frank takes the Falcon down. This is a high-tension sequence. For 1,000 years, the monolith has shot down anything that got close.
Frank is betting his life that the monolith recognizes him, or that Dave recognizes him, that his very presence is a password.
He flies over the Sea of Galilee, and he sees the Europes. They've changed in 1,000 years.
Evolution on overdrive. They are amphibious now. They come out onto the land. They are building structures. Frank sees igloos made of ice.
Walking rose bushes building igloos. That is a surreal image.
It shows they are developing intelligence. They are the new humanity. Frank lands the shuttle near the Great Wall. He gets on the radio. He feels ridiculous, but he says, "Hello, Dave, it's Frank."
And for a long time, nothing. Just the hiss of static, the emptiness of space.
And then
The radio crackles, and a flat synthesized voice says, "I am Dave."
chills.
And then a beat later, another voice, the same synthesized tone. "I am Hal."
Hellman.
The merger is confirmed. Dave Bowman and HAL 9000 have been stored together, their codes intertwined, existing as a single emulation within the monolith's memory banks.
Frank puts on his brain cap. He links directly with Hallman. He enters the mind of the monolith. And this, for me, is the biggest reveal of the book. We've spent decades wondering what the monolith is. Is it God? Is it a spaceship?
And Hallman tells him, it's a machine. It's a cosmic Swiss Army knife.
That is such a demotion.
Yeah, it really is. We projected godhood onto it, but it's really just a very advanced tool, utility. And more importantly, it's a tool running on autopilot.
What do you mean?
The firstborn, the aliens who made it, aren't there. They set it up millions of years ago and left. It's just running its original program.
So the monolith is basically a Roomba that's been left running for an eternity.
A Roomba with the power to detonate stars, yes. Hallman suggests that it might even be glitching. It doesn't have true consciousness, it just follows a program. And that program is ruthless.
And Hallman shares a memory with Frank to prove it. A memory of the Jupiter ignition And this is the part that turns this from an adventure story into a horror story.
We celebrated the ignition of Lucifer as a new dawn for life. But Holman shows Frank what was there before. Jupiter wasn't empty.
The gas bags.
In the upper atmosphere of Jupiter, there was a vast ecosystem. Creatures the size of cities floating like living dirigibles. Gas bags. They had predators, shark-like torpedo creatures. They had herds. They had a complex, vibrant web of life that had existed for billions of years.
And the monolith knew they were there.
It assessed them. It scanned them. And it decided they were a dead end.
A dead end.
The firstborn value mind. They value technology, mathematics, space travel. The gas bags were never going to build a radio. They were never going to leave Jupiter. So to the monolith's cold, hard algorithm, they were weeds.
They were taking up real estate that could be used to nurture the Europans.
Exactly, so it burned them.
In a microsecond. When Jupiter ignited, the entire Jovian biosphere, trillions of living beings, was incinerated. It was a planetary genocide in the name of gardening.
That is cold utilitarian logic. It's terrifying.
And that leads to the warning. Holman didn't just invite Frank over for tea. He has a message.
The monolith phones home.
Holman reveals that 1,000 years ago, right after the HAL disaster in 2001, the monolith sent a status report to its superiors, to the firstborn.
Who are 450 light years away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the message took 450 years to get there. The firstborn received it, analyzed it, and sent a command back. That command took another 450 years to return.
And the math works out. 450 plus 450 is 900. It's been 1,000 years since Frank's time.
The message has just arrived. Judgment Day is here.
What was in the message?
The firstborn have seen humanity. They saw our wars, our nuclear weapons, our chaos in the 20th century. And Holman implies that the new orders being loaded into the monolith are not friendly.
We are the reeds now.
We are the weeds now. We are the violent, unpredictable species sitting right next to their precious experiment on Europa. There is a very high probability that the monolith is preparing to sanitize the solar system to protect the Europes.
To hit the delete button.
To hit the delete button on humanity.
So Frank has to go back. He leaves Europa with his ticking clock in his head. He returns to Star City.
And he tries to live a normal life. He actually marries Indra Wallace, the historian. They have 2 children, Martin and Dawn. He tries to be a husband and a father, but he knows. He knows the sword of Damocles is hanging over the entire human race.
And during this time, Captain Chandler, the man who found him, is lost.
Yeah, a sad little detail. He's killed in a comet explosion while on the job. A true comet cowboy to the end.
Frank joins the Europa Committee, a group of scientists monitoring the monolith, and the tension builds. They start seeing changes in the monolith. It's waking up. It's drawing energy.
And Holman reaches out one last time via the brain cap. The setup is done. The execution phase is beginning.
And that is where the source material leaves us hanging for this discussion. We have a species that has conquered death, built towers to the stars, and terraformed planets. But they're completely helpless against this ancient machine.
It reframes the whole space odyssey. It started as a story about exploration reaching out to find someone else. It ends as a story about survival, realizing that this someone else might not like us very much.
It's the ultimate cosmic horror. We aren't the chosen ones. We're just the tenants, and the landlord is coming to evict us.
And the landlord has a very big gun.
Frank Poole is the only bridge. He's the only one who understands both the humanity that was and the digital ghost inside the machine. The fate of the species rests on whether an old astronaut and a defunct computer program can outsmart a god machine.
And it makes you wonder, if an alien intelligence looked at our history today purely based on the data, all our violence, our self-destruction, would they vote to save us?
Or would they just weed the garden?
I don't know the answer to that, and I find that pretty terrifying.
That is a chilling thought to end on. We've journeyed from the frozen wastes of the Kuiper Belt to the tropical shores of Europa and stared into the face of a billion-year-old judge.
And found that the judge is indifferent, which is almost scarier than hate.
Indeed. That's all for this deep dive into 3001, the Final Odyssey. Keep watching the skies. And maybe, just maybe, hope that no one is watching back.